Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rachakodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is The Closing Curtains. And pretty much this is a title that came to me early this morning when I got up. So I jotted it down and I've been meditating on it, and couple of precepts that were coming to mind. I was writing them down and then looking up certain things. And it's kind of heavy because, this is what's happening right now. We're, coming down to the wire. And this is pretty much like damn near almost the final act. And once the final act plays out, then that's when they will close the curtains on the show. Now, what I was thinking about yesterday, it's funny, last night I was actually thinking about, pretty much a director and how he directs his movies, and then he'll choose, the actors and the actresses based off of the direction he wants his movie to go. He has certain characters in mind to play a particular part. And, for the most part, most of the directors out there, they won't allow their movie to go in a different direction. So they won't allow the actors or actresses to improv, which improvisation pretty much is, you're given lines and then you see an opening and then you off the top, you just act and do something totally different than what the script says. And certain directors may allow it because it goes right along with the plans. But for the most part, you have certain ones of them that don't allow that because they don't want the movie to deviate from the storyline that they have in mind, because they had a vision of which way they wanted this movie to go, and not everyone is privy to that, pretty much to that, they're not privy to that vision that was given to you. Well, it's the same thing with the Most High. The Most High is the ultimate director on high, and he has a plan, a vision, and he has a movie that he has directed, produced, so on and so forth. And, he has a vision for the whole thing. And those that don't play along their part, he removes out of the way. Now here in Deuteronomy 29:29, it says, "The secret things belong unto the Lord our power, but those things which are revealed," mean the veil is pulled back on, that he shows, "belong unto us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law." And pretty much that revelation of this mystery or mysteries is given through the prophets. All right, let's go real quick to Amos 3:7. It says, "Surely the Lord power will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants the prophets. The lion hath roared, who will not fear? The Lord power hath spoken, who can but prophesy?" And once, it goes out of the lips of the Most High, then that's what he's determined to do. Because all the counsel of the Lord is going to stand. And he's not going to deviate from it, because the Lord don't change. Let's go real quick to Isaiah chapter 14. And 24. "The Lord of hosts hath sworn, saying, Surely as I have thought, so shall it come to pass, and as I have purposed, so shall it stand." So pretty much the Lord has a purpose, and that purpose is going to stand. and no one is going to sway him from it. The word for purpose is Ya'itazah. That's a good name for a brother, Ya'itazah, purpose. To advise, consult, give counsel, purpose, devise, plan. So the Lord has a plan. He has a purpose. And that purpose is not going to be disannulled. It's not going to be altered. It's not going to be changed. It's going to stand because the Lord said it was going to stand. All right? Just like you have a movie director that has an idea for a movie, and they have a vision for that movie, and they're going to move it in that direction. And anyone that stands in the way of that vision, they will get removed. I like to use an example that Apostle Gabar told me about years ago with the movie The Warriors. My favorite movie of all times. And pretty much, that's the movie I've seen the most out of all movies. And pretty much in that movie, you had the different characters that played, that the Warriors played. There was 9 of them. I can name all 9 to you to this very day. I could quote line for line the whole movie. Now I'm joking. But pretty much, there's an individual there by the name of Fox. He was a up-and-coming young actor who was heady, strong-willed, and he was battling back and forth with the director of the movie. And I forget the guy's name, Hill, something like that, the director. And pretty much what happened was they kept clashing heads. They kept bumping heads. So what the director did was, okay, you want to keep bumping heads with me? You don't want to, go in the direction that I want you to go. So what he did was he wrote him out of the script. That's why there's a scene where he's running with the chick. His name is Fox, the guy Fox in the movie. He's running with the chick, and then a police officer comes from behind a pillar and tackles him, and they start fighting, and then he throws a guy into the oncoming train, and, he gets deleted out of the movie because he was stubborn, hard-headed, and heady, and didn't want to, go along with the visions of the director. So the director wrote him out of the script. And even years later, I believe he said that he regretted that, because it pretty much killed his career, because he was, from the movie, he's a pretty decent actor, but, he wanted to do shit his way, and the director wasn't having it. So the Most High, he has a purpose. And if you don't go in line with what the Lord wants, then guess what? You get removed out of the picture. And in whatever fashion that may be. All right, now, I have here a closing curtain. This is Obama. And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. Right, so what I did was I typed in the closing curtain meaning. The closing curtains are the concluding part of a performance. The final curtain is the last time a curtain is lowered at the end of a performance. Synonyms of closing curtain include close, finale, and finis. Pretty much finito. Now, when we come down here to what does the idiom close the curtain mean? Phrase, if something brings down the curtain on an event or situation, it causes or marks the end of it. And pretty much we're at the very end of this, kingdom. Because everything has a beginning and an end. Let's get that. Everything has a beginning and everything has an end. And as the scriptures say, better is the ending of a thing than the beginning. And how? Let's go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 9. There was another precept that came to mind, but I can't think of it right now. If it comes back, then I'll bring it up. Trying to think. Okay. So 2nd Ezra chapter 9 and 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. So the world was created for all of these different heathen kingdoms to rise and eventually fall. And it was already etched in stone, written already, that all of these different empires were coming. There would be 4 major empires that would rule. And there would be, the thing that they didn't understand was that there would be a pause in the 4th kingdom. And then it would come back again into power, you know. And after that is when it would be destroyed. So we're in the second leg, or the final leg of the 4th empire that was spoken of in the book of Daniel, the 2nd chapter and the 7th chapter. All right. So we're at the waning years of that, or the waning days. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, which we see that happening, many earthquakes, uproars of the people. There was just a few earthquakes in Jersey, New York, in that tri-state area, you know, and then uproars of the people. You see that all over the place, you know, all around the world. There are uproars of the people. There's so much stuff going on that they don't even report it in the mainstream media. They're not talking about it, you know, because these are signs that Yahushua said would be happening prior to his return. And this is why the apostles, which at the time were disciples before they became apostles, asked Yahushua, what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And then when you look up that word world, it goes back to the Greek word eon. And the Greek word eon means uninterrupted rule, or a certain period of time for something to be done. It could be a year, it could be 10 years, it could be 100 years, 200 years, it could be 1,000, 2,000 years. It depends on the particular thing or person or empire that was set up for that particular age. So they wanted to know when would be the end of the age, pretty much of the Romans, because they understood that once Yahushua came on the scene, right, we'll get back to this. Once Yahushua came on the scene, that would usher in the end of the world. And this is something that all of the prophets were waiting for, because they understood that Yahushua would come on the scene and, you know, redeem the Israelites after the sufferings of Israel. All right. So when we go to, is it 2 Peter? Nope. It's 1 Peter. I was correct. 1 Peter chapter 1. And I'll start at 9. Receiving the end of your faith. This is a cold cut to them Christians out there. Receiving the end of your faith, even the salvation of your souls. That's when you're saved, at the very end. That's why it says we are saved by hope. But if you see that what you hope for, then how can you still hope for it? How can you still be saved? You know, you ain't saved if you're still hoping to be saved. It says, of which salvation the prophets, see, have inquired and searched diligently. Because another scripture, which we'll read later, Lord's will, the righteous souls were in their chambers asking about these things. Like, you know, when are we going to see the fruit of our reward? You know, because sometimes the mind gets weary. You know, sometimes the body gets weary, the mind gets weary. You know, and this is when, you know, this is why it's a constant spiritual battle between the flesh and the spirit. You know, because the flesh gets tired. You know, the spirit is hopeful, but the flesh gets tired. It says, who prophesied of the grace that should come unto you. And what is the grace that would come unto us? Yahushua. You know, and it says, searching what or what manner of time the spirit of Yahushua which was in them did signify, when it testified beforehand the sufferings of the anointed Yahushua and the glory that should follow. And they understood that. The disciples understood that before they became apostles. That's why Peter said, Lord, will thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel? Because they understood at that point, because Yahushua had breathed upon them the breath, you know, and the understanding was opened up. They understood that Yahushua was the Messiah, that he came on the earth to suffer. He had suffered. Now it's time for the kingdom. But what they didn't understand is that there had to be a pause in the that fourth empire, which was the Roman Empire, and they would come back later, you know. But it wasn't given to them at that time, because it was given to them at that time to bring forth the message of salvation back then, which is the gospel. All right, to the nation of Israel, nobody else. All right, and then because, you know, they were not equipped at that time to receive that message. Yahushua said, I have many things to tell you, but you are not able to bear them now. You see? So if you would have told them that, you know, could have messed them up, you know. I mean, you know, anyone that's given to the Lord, any of the elect that's given to the Lord will not be swayed, you know, but there's certain things that they were not ready for at the time. All right. It says, unto whom it was revealed that not unto themselves, but unto us they did minister the things which are now reported unto you by them that have preached the gospel unto you with the Holy Spirit sent down from heaven, which things the angels desire to look into. Because back then the prophets, they wanted to see Yahushua, but they weren't able to, because it wasn't time for the Lord to come. So when the disciples and the rest of the men that taught this gospel later on after Yahushua's departure, they were the ones that were set up to be able to see the Messiah, and not all of them. You see, because the Apostle Paul didn't see Yahushua when he was on the scene, but Yahushua did appear to him later. But he didn't see. So the men that the Apostle Paul taught, they never saw Yahushua on the earth. They just heard. Okay, but the 11 disciples and Matthias also, and Justus, I believe the other one's name was, they actually witnessed Yahushua. There was when there were 500 people that witnessed Yahushua's resurrection. You know, so there was those that were eyewitnesses that were there, that saw the Lord. But then, you know, later on, there were others that came into this that weren't witnesses of Yahushua, you know, when he was on the earth. But they were filled with the Holy Spirit and guided by Yahushua, because they were a part of Yahushua's sheep. That's why he told the disciples that, or when he prayed to the Father, Yahweh, he said, I don't only pray for these, but I pray for those also who shall believe on me through their word, meaning the words of the disciples. Okay? So going back to 2 Ezra 9:3, therefore when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. Here's the point here. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. See? So what are we witnessing right now? We're witnessing the manifestation of the end. Let's go to the word manifest. I know it's gonna give me a couple of different definitions. Manifest meaning. Show something clearly, see? To show something clearly through signs or actions. Manifest something and something the workers choose. So to show something clearly through signs or actions, all right? So that's how we know that we're at the end, because the end is manifest. It's speaking clearly. Let's go real quick to Habakkuk. You know, for you brothers that have been, you know, really ain't too many scriptures, you know, well, really there's no scriptures that we could go to break down to you that you haven't already heard and know for yourself, you know, because, you know, but this is more so for the newer members that may not be familiar with this, you know, because just remember, you know, when we were in the world, first time we heard this and how amazing it was, like, wow, you know, like right now, you know, you might read scriptures like Habakkuk, you know, 2 and other scriptures, and to you is, you know, you're used to it. But just remember when we first came into this, how deep it was. It's like, wow, you know. So that's how you have some of these newer members reacting now, you know, in the wow factor, you know. Habakkuk 2 and 3, for the vision is yet for an appointed time. See, appointed time means just that. There's a time set aside for these things to happen. And there has to be a series of things that happen and a particular time that passes by before we can go into the next phase of prophecy. You know, a while back I did a lesson called Time Dictates Prophecy. And it's funny because that was the last, I'm not sure if that was one of the last lessons I did before I went, to Indianapolis. But I still have the notebook, leaning on the wall with a bunch of scriptures on it, and it says time dictates prophecy. It's just been sitting there for I don't know how long, and that's the truth. So everything has an appointed time. When we go to Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, right, and the first verse, which they actually made a song about this chapter here. Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there is a season, see, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. And it goes on to give you the different things. So there's a season and a time for everything. And once the time expires, so to speak, then it moves into the next phase. And right now, what we're waiting for is the very last phase of that's going to bring about the curtains closing, which is the MOTB being the micro CHIP. And it's heavy because I watched it years ago when it came out, but when I watched it again this time, I didn't remember nothing in the movie. So I was like, damn, did I watch the movie or not? But a movie Upgrade, it just came out on Netflix, and that movie is bad. That movie is bad because it shows you, in the movie, I don't want to spoil the movie, but it shows you how the one individual, he got into a car accident, and there was other individuals that came and killed his wife, and it looked like they shot him, and when it looked like they shot him, it severed his spine, messed his spine up, and he was a quadriplegic after that. So then eventually this one individual that was working on this particular device was able to enter that device into him, and it brought together his spine and all of the motor skills that he had lost, and helped him to be able to to walk again, move his limbs, do certain things that he wasn't able to do. And it also gave him pretty much like spiritual powers. It made him stronger, more agile, quicker, and all of that. So that movie's heavy because this is exactly what they plan on doing for those people that are quadriplegics. As a matter of fact, as we speak right now, Elon Muskie, as Bishop Manatazak calls him, he the first brain implant that he did failed because there were certain wires that came apart or came loose, and they said that they knew about it, but now they got approved for the second one. And then there's a bunch of people that are in line, quadriplegics that are in line for this surgery, for this particular device to be put in them. And pretty much that's what it is. The spinal cord was severed from the rest of their body, so the signals that will come from the brain to control those parts of the body can no longer do that because the connection was broken. So with this device, which is one of their miracles, they're able to attach the different neurons or whatever the case may be to the rest of the body to help the body move again. That is a part of the MOTB. All right. And that is a part of the MOTB that goes in the forehead, the metapon. All right. So, we kind of deviated a little bit, but it's okay. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. So everything has a time. Now, when we go to the same book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 8, and verse 6, it says, because to every purpose there is time and judgment, therefore the misery of man is great upon him. So there is time, there's a purpose, to every purpose there is time and judgment. So Esau was given a particular time to rule, and now he's coming to the time where he's about to be judged. The judgment is about to be handed out. They were let loose out of their prison sentence during what was known as the Renaissance period. And now we're at the very end of this, because it's still the Renaissance period, because they're still in rulership. But it's coming to the point now where their rulership is at an end, because they were given a certain period of time to rule. Just like we read about the 4 different empires in the book of Daniel, 2nd chapter and the 7th chapter. All right, when we go to the 5th chapter, it spoke about the ending of the Babylonian Empire, because there was a Babylonian Empire that ruled, and that was the first one that was supposed to rule jointly with the Assyrian Empire, because those rulers of the Babylonian Empire were Assyrians. So it was the Assyrio-Babylonian Empire, just like you had the Medo-Persian Empire. All right, so when we go to Daniel chapter 5, this is where they get the famous term, the writing is on the wall. Because they actually saw a hand writing something on the wall, and it wasn't written in any character that they understood. So Daniel was brought in, and he was able to interpret it, and this is what he came up with the interpretation. So they saw a big, brown hand writing on the wall. And pretty much what he was writing on the wall was the end of the Babylonian Empire. So Daniel 5:25, I started 24. Then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the writing that was written. Many, many tekel upharsin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Many, the Most High hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. So let's go to the word many, which goes to the Hebrew word mana'ah. A weight or measurement, usually 50 shekels, but maybe 60 shekels. So pretty much it's a numbering, all right? A numbering and also a weight, because they were weighed in the balance, and the scales of the balance were tipped towards the wicked side, not towards the righteous side. And what brought about the final end of it was when they brought out the vessels of the Most High from the temple, and they started drinking in them pompously. The Lord said, okay, I got something for you. And he took them out. It says, tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and are found wanting. Let's look up the word tekel. The word is thakwal. To weigh, right, because it goes back to the word shekwal. Shekwal is where you get the word shekel from. Want all the shekels? Tekel, shekel. A unit of weight, shekel. All right? So they have been weighed in the balance. They have been numbered. And they have found what? Wanting. Matter of fact, let's look up the word balances, and let's look up the word. Balances is the word ma'azanyan, scale, balance. All right, and the scales were tipped, not in their favor. And then the word wanting is a word chasayar, which is lacking, wanting, deficient. See, they were deficient. So what did the Lord do? He removed them from rulership, and he gave it to the next part of the vision, which was the arms, the shoulders, of silver. All right, which was the very next kingdom. The very next kingdom after the Assyrio-Babylonians was the Medo-Persian Empire. Now the Medes came up first. They were stronger of the two, but eventually the Persians, absorbed them into their kingdom, so it became the Medo-Persian Empire, and the Persians became greater than them. All right, so that was the next kingdom to rule. And why did the Babylonian Empire end and the Medo-Persian Empire begin? Because it was time. There was a set time for that particular empire to rule. Let's go real quick to Job 14 and 5. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. The bounds meaning the amount of land they could conquer, and also the amount of time that they could rule for. Now, when we go to the word determined, right, the word there is charatazah. Now, charatazah could also be used for diligence. But in this case, charatazah is used to cut, sharpen, decide, decree, determine, maim. So the Lord cut their time. Why? Because it was determined that it would be so. Determined. Cause something to occur in a particular way. Be the decisive factor in. And what is the decisive factor? The decisive factor is that the Most High is closing the curtains on you. Which means if something brings down the curtain on an event or situation, it causes or marks the end of it. So we're at the end of Esau's empire. All right, so they have been weighed in the balance and have been found wanting. It says, Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Why? Because that was the next phase of division. That was the next phase of Yahweh, the director's movie, and the succession that it was going to come in. That was the next scene. Right? Then after that, there rose another empire, which were the Greeks, and eventually the stars of the show at the time, which were the Medo-Persian Empire, eventually would lose that gloss, that glitter, and eventually the baton would be passed on to the Greeks. Why? Because that was the next phase in the vision. That was the next phase in the Most High's movie as a director. The word Perez comes from the Hebrew word paras, which means to break in two, divide, half shekel, a unit of measure and weight. And notice that every one of the words of this phrase, many tekel upharsin, right, all have something to do with weight and measurement and balance. You had the many, which was a weight, tekel, which is also a weight, and Perez, which was also a weight, which was a representation of the Persians, the Medes and the Persians, because they were the next in line to take over. Let's see what the word upharsin. This goes back to the word Perez. It's wa. So pretty much upharsin is and Perez. Upharsin, wa, Perez, or Perez, which is plural. Because as you see here in the Hebrew, wa parasyan. Parasyan is the plural of Perez or Paras. And the wa is wa. That's why they have upharsin and farsin. Okay? So, moving on. So, his days are determined, meaning there was a certain set time for them to rule. All right? Let's read this again. Job 14 and 5, seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee, thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. So that's it. So once the Babylonian Empire came to an end, then the next empire came in. Once they came to an end, the next empire came in. Once they came to an end, the fourth empire came in, which is the Roman Empire. Then they had a pause in their empire. And that pause would be for a period of 1,000 years. And it wasn't until the time after Yahushua and the disciples were on the scene that pause would begin. Because although the pagan Roman Empire was taken over by Jake in 96 AD, it wouldn't be for another couple of hundred years in the future that the pagan Roman Empire would be put down, because Jake continued on that bullshit. And even when it became the Holy Roman Empire, Jake was still following pagan customs. But around roughly 325 AD, when Constantine was on the scene, and I forgot the name of I don't know I forget if he was a bishop, because he gave the decree, but the bishop, made the official religion of the empire, the Christian religion, which was pretty much steeped in paganism. It was just lightly veiled. So from that point on was when the pause happened. And then from that point on, from around 325 AD, you go 1,000 years to the future. You're in the beginning of the 1300s, and this is when Jake, or the Byzantine Empire, or Dark Ages, started to fall, and Esau started coming up in there and taking over certain strongholds and getting rid of all of the, well, not all of them, but trying to get rid of the dark images, the dark art that was all throughout Europe, because Jake was ruling at that time. I just watched the video, the brother from the HODC. I'm not sure if I don't think he's with them anymore, but I'm not sure. I believe the brother's name is also Mathathia, or something like along those lines. And he's out there in Israel. Now, I don't know if that was an old video where he went into this particular church and he was, filming the dark images that were in those churches, which shows you that them devils know. But then they'll make it seem like we're crazy when we say that the so-called Negroes are the real Jews, But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So that was the period of time when they were coming back into power, and this is why it's called the Renaissance or the Rebirth, because it was the rebirth of Esau coming back into power, establishing, the Lord giving the earth into their hand and establishing themselves as the new rulers, which pretty much was, you could say, the unpaused rulers, because at that time the pause button was taken off and they got back into power. So now we're at the very end of that. We're at the very end of them going down, and we're witnessing that every day. So going back to Habakkuk 2:3, for the vision is yet for an appointed time. So there was a time and season for everything. But at the end it shall speak. And we're at the end right now, at the waning years of Esau's empire, and not lie. Why? Because the Lord said it was going to happen, and damn it, it's going to happen. So let it be written, so let it be done. Though it tarry, meaning though it takes a while to come, wait for it. Yeah, and remember Elder Pastor speaking about High Priest Ariah and how he mentioned back then in the 80s, when Apostle Tar first came into the school, that there was nothing really happening at that time. But there was going to come a point where these things would happen, and you'll start seeing the prophecies popping off, which we're seeing them more and more now than they did back then. So just imagine that, here it is, you prophesying things and ain't nothing really happening, but you're still prophesying, which shows you that the Lord had to have a heavy spirit on these men back then to be able to prophesy and still believe, even though they weren't seeing anything. And now, brothers are at a point where everything is popping off. So it's easier to believe now because, all of the signs are there. But back then they weren't seeing shit, every once in a while a little something pop off here and there, and they will report on it, but nothing like it's happening now, especially dealing with the whole system that they're putting in place right now, which is a digital system. This is like the most, blatant sign of the end that you're ever going to see, because it will surely come, it will not tarry, right? So it's coming, it's not going to tarry. So going back to 2nd Ezra 9:5, for like all that is made in the world have the beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings in wonder and powerful works, and endings and effects and signs. And this is what we're seeing now, the endings. And it's coming with effects and signs. And Yahushua spoke about all of these things that would be happening prior to him coming down the second time. Let's read Isaiah 19 and 16. I got a couple of precepts here, which I'm going to go through, Lord's will, and then end the lesson. Isaiah 19 and 16. In that day shall Egypt be like unto women. And we see that right now. We understand this scripture perfectly, because Egypt is not talking about ancient Egypt. It's talking about the modern day Egypt, which is America. And these men are acting more and more like women. They're dressing like them. They're putting on makeup. They're acting more feminine than the women. And eventually, the mighty men are going to be like that. The so-called warriors, military men, are going to be like that because of the calamities and the stuff that's coming on the earth. And it shall be afraid and fear, and it shall be afraid and fear, because of the shaking of the hand of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai of hosts, which he shaketh over it. So we're witnessing the shaking of the Lord's hand over the world right now. And the land of Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt. Everyone that maketh mention thereof shall be afraid in himself, because they're seeing the Israelites waking up, but not just the Israelites, the tribe of Judah waking up. The most insignificant people, on the planet that Esau made that way. He made them the most insignificant when they are the most significant. They are the top of everything. And even in this low state, they dominate every goddamn thing. They talk about Jake ain't got no creativity, nothing like that. They get all their creativity from Jake. They have this young Jake playing the piano, and these Edomites asking to play, something classical, because they probably say, yeah, he ain't gonna know how to play that. And that brother got busy. He was playing that like a champion. He was playing it like a champion, And he at the end, them devils were like, their jaws dropped. And at the end, when he finished, his that little skit, they had no choice but to clap. And I saw another video where he was playing some more, classical stuff. That brother is bad. So Judah, that's the top of everything. That's the creme de la creme. If the Most High was to come down here himself, which he's not, but if he was, he would be Judah, because he is Judah. And we come forth out of the waters of Judah. So that's the top tribe. So when Judah wakes up, oh my God, that's it. It's over. And that's the great fear that these devils have, that Judah wakes up. That's why do you think that they're the most attacked? Why do you think they clone Tyrone and Big Shirley and Keisha and all that? Because they're trying to keep, Jake in that stupid, dumb, docile, demonic, shucking and jiving, Amos and Andy spirit. Because they know as long as Jake is in that position, they're not a threat. But once Jake starts to wake up, that's when they become a threat. See? And that's what these devils are witnessing. That's why they're afraid in themselves. Because of the counsel of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai of hosts, which he had determined against it. See? So the Lord determined that Judah would wake up, because he told them that. He warned you devils, man. Didn't he warn you devils? Didn't you take heed to the warning? Psalms 50 and 21. You must have forgot. Psalms 50 and 21. These things hast thou done, meaning you Edomites. You slandered us. You did all kind of wicked, evil shit. And I kept silence. Why did the Lord keep silence? Because it was the punishment that he used you to give. Because you're the Most High's whipping stick. You went overboard, but that's all right. Because you're going to get paid back. Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such as one as thyself. Right, because the Lord didn't do nothing to you. You thought the Most High was on your side. You thought the Most High was you. But you were wrong, G. You were really wrong, inside joke. But I will reprove thee. So how is the Most High reproving these devils? By the prophets. Cursing them out. Exposing them. Telling them what the real deal is. and set them, meaning the Israelites, in order before thine eyes. So what is the order of that? Well, first and foremost, you have to have Judah to be set up first. Zechariah 12:7. The Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai also shall save the tents of Judah first. That's why the Judites were the first ones to wake up. That's why when you go back to the 60s and 70s, who was it? The Black Panthers. It wasn't the Young Lords or the Brown Berets first or AIM. Really, it was Judah. Even though you had Gad, that was coming up in there too, because, they were taken down in this land first. But Judah was the main ones that were set up and established, and they were the ones that put the rest of the tribes on game, on how to function and how to maneuver and how to use the government, to set up these different, programs, to help with education and food and all of that stuff. Why? Because it was the Most High that was setting up Judah first. That you're who your brethren shall praise, as the brother Yahweh that put up the scripture in Genesis 49. You would be the head. That's why you're the best at everything. Let me see an Edomite flying through the air like Michael Jordan, or doing the hellified shit that Jake does, or Judah does on the basketball court, or anywhere for that matter. They can't do it, but yet they claim to be superior to Jake. Are you out of your fucking mind? That the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem, which is the rest of the tribe, do not magnify themselves against Judah. See? Because Judah is a head tribe. And that's that. So you have, some of the northern kingdom bug outs talking about that, only the northern kingdom are Israelites, the natives, and the Judah, the so-called Negroes, are not Israelites, and all kind of bullshit going on. You bugged out, bro. You learned this from Judah. You didn't get this on your own. When you go back in the history, you don't see any Gadites or Ephraimites or any of the other tribes talking about that they were the Israelites, and we got this from Judah, not the other way around, clown. So get it right, troop. All right, let's move along. Where we at? So we read that. Okay, Isaiah 28 and 21. For the Lord shall rise up as a Mount Perazim. That goes back to when the Lord was with King David to battle that particular battle where the chariots were on top of the mulberry trees. He shall be wroth as in the valley of Gibeon. Right, Gibeon. Those were the Hamites that feigned themselves to be coming from a far country and heard of the fame of Israel. And when Joshua found out that they were neighbors, he made them what? Hewers of wood and drawers of water. So the Lord is coming back to put you nations down and to set us back up into power and put you under our feet, as he gave to his son Yahushai, that he may do his work, his strange work, and bring to pass his act, his strange act. What is that work, that strange work? The chariots coming to deliver the nation of Israel and to do battle against you Edomites. Now therefore be ye not mockers. This is talking to you Israelites, lest your bands be made strong. For I have heard from the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai, power of hosts, a consumption even determined upon the whole earth. So all you nations are going down, beginning with Esau, because Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So when we go to the word consumption, the word for consumption is kalah, completion, termination, full end. So you have been terminated. All right, you are fired, Esau. But you still got, a few things you got to do before you've been given your pink slip, dog. I don't know if they went up there and told you. You've been given your pink slip, but you still have a few things you have to do before that pink slip comes into full effect. And your severance pay is going to be destruction, and for those of you that survive, slavery. And you don't worry, you have plenty of work. There's going to be continual employment, full and complete destruction, consumption, annihilation. And you are the only neighbor of the Israelites that was not promised any form of mercy from Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So that's it right here. Look, complete destruction. Because all of these nations that are on the planet right now that are ruling are going to be taken down when Yahushai comes back. And the word determined, which we read earlier, is charatazah, means to cut in that particular case. So you've been cut, but you just still playing out the rest of the movie, so to speak, until the curtains close. All right, and they're about to close down on your bitch ass. All right, so let's see what else we got. I'm gonna go straight to the point on this one here. 2nd Ezra 4:36, and unto these things Uriel the archangel gave them answer and said, even when the number of sieges filled in you, meaning in the prophets, for he hath weighed the world in the balance, and the balance is tipped, against you. The earth is wicked. When you go back before the flood, the Lord said that the Lord saw the earth and the wickedness of man, that it was great upon the earth. And they repented him that he made man. And what he do? He put the spirit on Noah, who happened to be the elect at the time, with the 7 other souls that were with him. He gave him instructions, which he fulfilled. And after the instructions were fulfilled, he closed them up in that ark and brought the flood and destroyed the people that were here back then. And guess what? That wickedness was gone. He opened up the windows on high. He opens up the windows from the deep, and he flooded this place. It was a 18, I forget what the word measurement was, 18 something above the mountains. So nothing survived on the planet, except for Noah, his 8, the 7 people that were with him, which is 8 souls altogether, the animals that were on the ark, and whatever was swimming in the seas, because they weren't affected by the flood. Okay? By measure hath he measured the times, and by number hath he numbered the times, and he doth not move nor stir them until the said measure be fulfilled. That's why the cubits, the water, brother, the water, yep, 18 cubits, yep, the water brothers. So pretty much, the Lord is not gonna move a finger to move anything in any direction until this devil's time is up. Now let's hit a couple of these precepts and let's close out. Let's go to Revelation chapter 10. Let's go back here. Revelation 10, we're going to read a couple of verses there. Start at the 5th verse. It says, and the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever and ever, who created heaven and the things that therein are, and the earth and the things that are therein, that therein are, and the sea and the things which are therein, that there should be time no longer. See? That there should be time no longer. Why? Because it's the end. There's no more time. And what would be happening at the very end? Time is chronos. What would be happening at the very end when there was no more time? The prophecies would be rolling out. And we see it playing out just like, the Lord said they would roll out. Right? Then it says, but in the days of the voice of the 7th angel, when he shall begin to sound, which is the very end, when the destruction comes, the mystery of the Most High, which he spoke by the prophets, should be what? Finished, as he have declared to his servants, the prophets. That's why it says, if you're a prophet, you're supposed to be out there prophesying. No, not holding the talent in a napkin. All right? Now let's go from there to the book of Revelation 16, same book, Revelation 16 and 17, just straight to the point. It says, and the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of the heaven from the throne, saying, it is done, meaning it is finished. All right, and when you continue to read on, it's going to give you how it's going to be finished by the thermonuclear destruction, and pretty much it doesn't speak about the chariots in this, but also by the chariots. You have the chariots in other scriptures. Ginomiahi, to become an example, to come into existence, begin to be, receive, being. So it is finished, see? Finished. Why? Because it's the very end. Now let's go from there to the book of, what do I have there? Second Ezra. Let's go to Second Ezra, the second chapter and the 13th verse. It says, go and you shall receive. Pray for few days unto you, that they may be shortened. Right? Hasten the days. The kingdom is already prepared for you. Watch. Remember, this is what Yahushua kept telling his disciples at the very end before he came to be crucified. Watch as well as pray. Watch. He kept saying, watch, watch, watch. That you enter not into temptation. Proverbs. Let's go to Proverbs to see what that says. Proverbs chapter 10 and verse 27. The fear of the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Shai prolongeth days, but the years of the wicked shall be shortened. And we're at that point, because the Lord is going to shorten those days, because this devil is on a rampage. The word for shorten is quatazar, to be short, be impatient, be vexed, be grieved. Right, and that's why they're grieved and vexed, because they know that they have but a short time. All right, and the last precept I have, which is the famous Matthew the 24th chapter, which has to be one of the most quoted chapters in the scriptures of all times. Matthew 24:22, and except those days should be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened. Right? Because the Lord gave him the time. And when he shortens it, it's going to be shortened because he already set it up that way. Seeing his days are determined. Kolobao, to mutilate. Shorten, abridge, curtail. Yep. You know, just like he gave what? He gave the Babylonian Empire 70 years of rule, but they were cut short. They were cut around 66 or 67 years. So he cut it short, but it's like within that 70-year period. You know? And you could go on and on and on with this topic, you know. So pretty much we're witnessing the closing curtain, you know, on Esau, which means if something brings down the curtain on an event or situation, it causes or marks the end of it. And we're at the end. You know, yep, I'll read this again. Job 14:5. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. And that's that. Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai B'Hashem Rachak Kodash. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say Shalom. And Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai for allowing me to do this lesson. You know, and for allowing you brothers and sisters to partake in today's edification. Shalom.